All right, good morning, eighth graders, or this could potentially work out for seventh graders as well. I just wanted to introduce you to Scholastics Art and Writing Competition. All right, so this is a competition. It's also an art show, which I know that this year's could potentially look a little bit different. But I wanted to just kind of introduce you to this um, competition because this is like the Super Bowl, and this is always the term that they use. This is like the Super Bowl for visual arts, seventh grade through 12th grade. Okay, so it's a really cool opportunity for you, and it's coming up just before Christmas break. Okay, so the way the Scholastics works, Scholastics is kind of like a competition where you have different levels, and there's different awards that go along with your submissions. So basically, the way that it works is we have our entire state and our entire country pretty much broken down into regions. Now, our region, it runs from, I believe, Cleveland to down past Canton towards like New Philly. And every school in between falls into our region. And our region is based out of Kent State Stark University. And that is where the art show is held for the people that win certain awards. Okay. So the way that this works is anybody that is 13 years or older, okay, and I believe you have to be 13 by December. Let me check the date. I believe you need to be 13 by December 18th. So if you are going to be 12 years old beyond the 18th, you may need to sit this year out. But just remember that next year and moving forward, you will be able to participate. They just have a certain age restriction due to internet safety and age limitations and things like that. But for some reason, 13 is the actual cutoff for that legal internet guideline that they have. So if you are a seventh grader, some of you will be able to participate. And if you are an eighth grader, I would assume that most of you are going to be at least 13 and are 13 by the 18th of December. Okay. So let's just kind of walk through a little bit of how this is going to look. Number one, the first thing that I always recommend is that Mr. Hoffman or myself, okay, I'll probably be giving a lot of recommendations to eighth graders. Mr. Hoffman will probably be giving a few recommendations to the seventh graders. And the big thing about this competition is you can submit your artwork, but you should submit it with either myself or Mr. Hoffman. Okay. And really, the artwork that you want to submit is most likely going to be the projects that you completed in class. Okay. So my rule of thumb, and I know that this year looked a little bit different, but in a typical year, my rule of thumb is if you were to get 100% on a project, or if you were to get a 95 and up, or even an A, you should submit your artwork to Scholastics. It's always worth a shot. So that's my kind of first recommendation. If you were to make it into like the hallway or a showcase chosen by your art teacher, Mr. Hoffman or myself, I would also recommend to give this a shot. Now, there's a couple things that you will have to do in order to submit your artwork. But really, the number one thing that I believe that you should do is you should really go in and you should see either Mr. Hoffman if you're in seventh grade or myself, and we can really get you started on how to upload that artwork. The artwork needs to be submitted by Christmas break. So the Christmas break, I believe, starts on the 18th. I could be wrong, but I just took a quick look and I think that's when it starts. So we're going to need to make sure that we get these in before Christmas break. And then the art competition will be decided early January. Okay, so I believe that first week of the new year. That is when the juries, which are also known as like judges, are going to go through and they're going to basically give awards to specific artwork. Okay. Now, I did mention that this is a competition. So here's how this works. In Scholastics, you have 3 different awards. You have honorable mention, silver key, and a gold key. Okay. Obviously, the gold key is the highest key, that is given out to, I believe, less than 5% of the submissions. So if you have 1,000 people that submit artwork, you're probably going to have 50 or less of those people actually get a gold key. It's very tough to get a gold key. Now, we have had quite a few gold keys at Jackson, but it is something that's a little bit tougher to get. A silver key, I would say, is probably, if 1,000 people submitted, I would say about 100 to 150 maybe would get a silver key. And then honorable mention is given to, I believe, typically it's 20 to 30% of that total. So the way that it works is the artists, which are the judges of the art show, they have these local artists come in, they judge the show, and what they do is they flip through on a slideshow all of the artwork that was submitted digitally. Okay. Now everybody is going to submit their artwork digitally. Okay. Which means you take a picture of it, and that's the biggest part. That's the part that you want to see your art teacher for, because the picture has to be almost perfect for them to actually judge it. Okay. So there's a little bit of a process. Like I said, the easiest thing is just to come see us and we can walk you through it in about 5-10 minutes. Okay. So the way that it works is they go through all of the artwork in a slideshow. And what they do is they filter through and they figure out how many of those they want to at least get an honorable mention, or which ones they think are deserving of at least an honorable mention. So then what they do is they take the honorable mention over here and they put everything else off to the side. Okay. Unfortunately, everything else off to the side, they're pretty much just not going to get an award that year. That's fine. Then what they do is they take this and they look through all of those honorable mention pieces and they filter through and they basically set aside which ones they think are at least worthy of a silver key. Now, the silver keys and the gold keys, but the silver keys actually make it to Kent State Stark University for the big grand art show, okay, which is a really cool art show. And there's actually a ceremony where you get announced. You get a little pin that says the key that you received for that award. And then basically it's just a celebration about you and your artwork. And it's a really cool thing. I go every year. Mr. Hoffman goes every year. It's just a really cool big award show. Now, what they do is they take all those silver keys, which is a relatively small percentage, okay? And they take all those and they decide for which ones are going to be a gold key. Okay, now the gold keys, those are the top-notch artwork, okay? And they take all those ones that they thought were gold keys, and then they take all those digital submissions and they send them to New York City, which is really cool. Now, obviously that's very challenging to do. Believe it or not, I always tell kids at Jackson that Jackson has a very talented group of kids and a pretty successful art program. Believe it or not, middle school and high school. So oftentimes, I'm surprised. Mr. Hoffman's surprised. We obviously have kids that are extremely gifted in art, and it just comes natural, and they're talented, and they do well in class, and those kids naturally win their awards. But every year, there's always at least a handful, okay, maybe 5 to 10 kids that even your teachers are a little surprised that they ended up getting a silver or a gold key just because they gave it a shot, which is pretty cool. I mean, in years past, Mr. Hoffman and I, we've actually talked kids into doing this, and they ended up winning a gold key. Okay, so it's super cool. Like I said, it's like the big Super Bowl for art. If you're somebody into art, you're really going to want to get to know Scholastics over the next 5 or 6 years. And so that is basically what Scholastics is all about. We have had one scenario at Jackson Middle School over the past, I believe, 6 years, where a girl that won a gold key at the regional competition actually went on to get a silver medal at the national competition, which is a super big deal. I think it was like 0.03% of submissions got an actual medal at nationals. So it was like 3 in 10,000 or something like that. So it was pretty cool. pretty cool for her. And I think she was actually the one that we were pretty surprised that she even got a gold key. So you really never know. And that's not a knock on her. You just never know what the artwork is going to look like to the judges, and especially on a big screen. So it's always worth a shot. I would encourage everyone to go through and submit and see how it goes. Now, there's a couple things that we need to talk about with submitting. The first thing is there is a cost. So each submission costs $5. Now, I always get some kids that chuckle because they think $5 is like nothing. But I understand that $5 sometimes isn't something that, when you're talking about submitting something to an art show where you don't really know anything about whether you're going to win or not. I totally understand that $5 may seem like that's not the right place for that money to go. If you're somebody that has any doubt or any restriction at all, whether your parents don't want you to do it or whether, whatever it is, you're going to have parent permission. But if you have any difficulty at all in the slightest way, there is a form that you can fill out, and it basically bypasses that whole fee. So you do not have to pay to submit your artwork. All right. Now, to be completely honest with you, a couple of years ago, Scholastics used to be $1. Okay, so you submit your piece for $1 and you were good to go. The next year, they changed it to $2. Okay, and a lot of teachers around the region, Cleveland, all over the country, were kind of upset about that. Why would you up the price on something that is a submission? Well, then the year after, they upped the price to $5. Okay, now, again, I know that some of you probably laugh and think that's nothing. But when you're looking to submit multiple pieces, okay, because maybe one thing I forgot to tell you was that you can submit multiple pieces. If you want to submit 5 pieces, then that's $25 instead of $5. So all of a sudden, the number grows, and the money gets a little bit harder to get your hands on. So there is a form, and last year I will tell you that a lot of students actually just ended up filling out the form. And it basically is like an honor system where if you fill out the form, they trust you, they trust me that the money was difficult for you to get, and they actually just bypass it and they let you compete in the competition for free. Okay, so a couple things that I thought of while I'm going through this is that number one, you can submit more than one thing. So if you want to submit all 3 or 4 of your projects from this class, you can submit all of them. If you would like to do a project outside of class, I would recommend talking to your art teacher. But if you have something that you've done outside of class, you can also submit that to Scholastics. It does not have to be from your actual class work or your time in class. If you did something a year ago, you can submit something you did a year ago. It doesn't really matter because you're the one that did it. And it doesn't matter what your age was back then because you are currently 13 or older. Okay. Now, there's one more thing that I want to walk you through. And if you have any questions up to this point, just feel free to email myself or Mr. Hoffman, and we should be able to get you an answer. What I would recommend doing is I would go to artandwriting.org. So if you're watching this video, maybe pause the video, write down this link, or just go ahead and type it into your computer, artandwriting.org, and it should pull up this picture. So you should see a painting in the background, and so on. What you want to do is you want to click log in. Okay, your servers are undergoing maintenance. But what it's going to do is let me see if it refreshes. Go figure. So you're going to click log in, and you're basically going to create an account. Okay. When you create an account, what you will want to do is you're going to want to type in your school email, and you're going to want to create a password. Now, the most important part of this step is that I need you, please, to write down your password. Okay. Write it down. I don't care if you write it down on your well, don't do it on your Chromebook. Write it down on a piece of paper, stick it in your Chromebook case, but please make sure that you actually write down the password. You're going to go through and you're going to click, you're going to answer all the questions that you can, and then you're going to go ahead and open up your profile once you create your account. Okay. When you create your account, what you'll need to do is you'll need to update your profile. Now, what I would recommend doing is I would recommend doing this at home, because there's going to be some questions on there that maybe you're not fully understanding on how to answer it. It asks you a lot of kind of interesting questions like how many people live in your house. So just answer those with your parents. You can also answer them with Mr. Hoffman or myself. It's nothing super personal. It's just they like to get to know the student, because there's actually potential for students to win like scholarships and things like that. So what they want to do is they want to understand like your diversity and what makes you kind of unique. So that's the main thing why they do that. Anyway, so you just go ahead and fill all that out. If you can update your profile, if you can get an account created, and then you can come see Mr. Hoffman or Mr. Petter, I would recommend doing that. And then when you come see us, the rest is just going to be so simple. Pretty much all we need to do is photograph your artwork, upload it, and things like that. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I really want to make sure that everyone photographs their artwork in person, okay, in class. Okay, so I want to make sure that either Mr. Hoffman or myself, I want to make sure that we photograph the artwork, because that's probably the hardest part. They require a certain amount of resolution, so you really need to make sure that and there's a lot of different guidelines that you have to follow. If you edit your photograph at all, it does not count. So there's a lot of tricky things. So we want to make sure that we do that in person. So just make sure that you bring it in. If you're a remote learner, you should probably be able to do this on your own. I would probably just reach out to Mr. Hoffman and we can walk you through how to do that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that everybody would be fine with that. So just let us know. But like I said, the easiest way is just to come see us. Okay. If you have any other questions about how Scholastics works, let me know. I would strongly encourage everyone to do it. So hopefully this video is encouraging enough to get you thinking about it. And like I said, once you figure out which submissions that you want to submit, I would log in, create an account. It doesn't hurt anything to create an account, and then come see us as soon as you can. Don't wait till the last day, because if you wait until the last day before Christmas break, it might get a little bit chaotic and a little bit more stressful. So the sooner the better, and hopefully we'll see you guys really soon.